passe super l'artiste, super, encore un but sensationnel. That's a brilliant bit of follow-up play by Maher. Oh my goodness me, what a shot.
Sagosen setter det hen! Han setter den! De er i semifinale igjen!
Hello everyone, welcome to the Uninformed Handball Hour. It's our second preview for the Women's EHF EURO 2024. If you haven't heard the first one already, then maybe hop on over to that one. It's a little bit like an anthology. I'm going to predict you probably could listen to this one first and then go back to very different topics covered. We're releasing both of these previews on patreon.com/handball hour on the same day. If you're listening to this on a Wednesday, then thank you for joining us where you've gotten early access to this second preview podcast. There will also be bonus podcasts throughout the championship for this championship in November, December, and the men's world championship in January. So a perfect time to be with us. And you'll also have access to our fantasy team competition on Holdet. And before we get started on that, and that is a competition for those of you who don't know, where you basically create your own team with a budget, and you have a chance to compete against us and the rest of our brilliant community on Patreon. Always fun to see how we get on against our listeners. Alex, I want to get a quick prediction from you. We often see there are players who are owned by around 91, 92% of teams in Holdet. What's the percentage do you think that Henny Reistad will be included on teams in this Holdet competition?
It should be 100. It absolutely should be 100, because I do think she hasn't quite been priced correctly. For a player who's basically averaging 10 goals and 5 assists this season, if not more, she's just a little bit more expensive than the other big names in the competition. So she'll cost you a nice 12 million Danish kroner, which we're working with here. That's only one above the second most expensive player, Marketa Jerzabkova at 11. Katrine Kluiber is at 11 as well. So I think it's a pretty good bet to spend some of your hard-earned Holdet cash on by far the best player in the world, who also did not win the title of best player in the world for last season in the one. That was a surprise.
It was a surprise. And Alex, I can tell you right now, as one of the media contributors to the vote, that Henny Reistad was my number one choice. I just want to put it out there that I was not responsible for her not winning. And congratulations, of course, to Stina Oftedal for winning that. And congratulations also to Upskill for putting it all together, like the nice trophies as well, and the photo shoot they did with the players, all very, very official, very nice. I think the handball community really appreciate that. But yes, I don't know if Henny would have been annoyed by that, but she did get one positive boost before this championship, as did all of the Scandinavian team captains. Alex, I don't know if you saw this, but each of the women's handball teams in Norway, Denmark and Sweden were featured in the latest Donald Duck magazines.
Donald Duck.
Yes.
You're going to have to expand a little bit on that there, Chris.
Do you know what Donald Duck is?
As in the Disney character? Or
yes, yes, the Disney character, yes. Which is, and it's alternate names, Kalle Anka in Sweden. It is Donald Duck in Norway. And seemingly it's quite a big deal. Like the cartoons, I think still people watch as like a traditional thing. They do still print magazines, and they featured each of the women's national teams in the specific language versions of the latest magazines. So yeah, that was the thing that was all over the socials in the last week. You'll have to catch up on that, Alex. You look positively flabbergasted.
I've been away from Europe for too long.
You're missing out on what matters around Christmas time.
I can actually answer your original question about the percentage of popularity of Henny Rystad. And people playing this game need to realize they need to get their shit together, to be honest, because only 64.9% of people have selected Henny Ella Rystad for their team, which is questionable. So sign up. You could finish, if you're listening to this podcast, you're going to get all of the ammunition to compete at the highest level of this game and win not only our prize, but also whatever general prize like the Holdet gives out for the number one winner. Because you'll get a good head start by listening to these preview podcasts.
Yeah, you say all the ammunition. That's pretty much all the advice I can give on that at the moment, to be honest. But I haven't built my team yet, so we'll see. We'll check in on that during the championship. But now on to looking at the rest of our preview for this Euro. And we have 3 more guests on the way in this one. We have Courtney Gahan, who will be reporting for the EHF, friend of the show and regular contributor. She'll be talking to us about Group C. Fulya Öktem will be joining us from Türkiye to talk about one of the 2 debutants at this championship. Really exciting to hear what she has to say about the Turkish team making their bow on Thursday. And Alex Mair, who will be making her bow this week as an EHF Euro commentator at a major championship. She's going to be talking to us about her group for the tournament, which is Group F. But before we go into those chats, let's talk about some of the big dogs. Alex, we did in our first podcast speak about some of the teams that are maybe on the outside contenders for medals in Sweden and Hungary, alongside the other co-hosts in Austria and Switzerland. But let's dive into the other 2 Scandinavian nations. Daniela helped us a little bit with Denmark in the previous podcast, and a lot of people among our experts and in the handball world putting Denmark as their actual favourites to win the title. How many times have you been bitten by this, Alex? And are you too shy now to commit to them this time as gold medal favourites?
I'm absolutely scalded. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. This is a team that have broken my heart, the heart of many fans. They always compete extremely well. I'm still just dumbfounded by the fact that Sandra Toft is not taken into the competition. I don't know if it is a kind of locker room thing. We never really found out from speaking to various experts on this. But she is a player that kind of wins games for you, wins championships. She finally won the Champions League. And I think I don't see what more Denmark can do, to be honest, than what they've done. And I think Norway just have their number. that's a fact.
Oh,
and
that's a big call to make pre-tournament. I think with the goalkeeper topic, Anna Christensen, 24 years of age, and Althea Reinhardt, who's been around for a long time with the team now, 126 caps, but still only 28 years of age, and turned 28 just a couple of months ago. So very much it feels like, setting the goalkeepers for the next Olympic cycles. And this is a team that have somewhat committed to that. They're saying, okay, we're going to start shifting some of the older players out of the team and bring in some fresh blood. One worry I do have, and I think a lot of Danes have, is Christina Jorgensen, who suffered an injury a couple of weeks ago. I think it turned out not to be as bad as everyone first feared. And so she is hard at work rehabbing at the moment, hoping to be fit. But at least the last I've seen as we're recording on Tuesday night is that she's not travelled with the team yet, that she's back in Denmark. So that would be a big loss for them. She's definitely grown in stature for the team over the last couple of years. But besides that, I like the look of this squad. Some of the speedy backcourt players are all fit at the same time. Like Helena Elver and Mia Højlund, it feels like they've never actually been fit at the same time. Always one of them has had some kind of injury, but they're both in there. And they brought in a bit of a bolter at 26 years of age, Stina Eiberg, who Lars Brun Mortensen was very keen on when he spoke to us a few weeks ago on the podcast as well. So, yeah, I like the look of this team. And, I'm a little bit falling for it. I feel like they overall have a better squad than the Norwegians and the French.
They have an issue at right back. And that is, it's prevalent for a few teams in this competition. But for Denmark, this is another relatively big decision to not bring Louise Borgar, who's been their right back, that she has been their rock on that side. And when you look at the squad, they only have one right back, and that is a newcomer, Helena Kindberg. Only 7 appearances for Denmark to date. She plays for Copenhagen Handball, which is not at the highest level, and you're going to have to rely on her for some minutes, or you go with a right-handed right back. I can imagine the likes of Helena Elver probably playing there a good bit, but that's a huge imbalance to have for a team that's competing to get the gold. I don't think you overcome that.
Good old 7-on-6 for the entire tournament, Alex. If I know Jesper Jensen like I think I know him, then that's the approach. Yeah, it is fair. The right back position is a worry for them, but it is also a worry for Norway, for Sweden, for a lot of teams, which could really crop its head up as the tournament goes on. On the Norwegians, we spoke a bit about them earlier with the main backcourt being out of action. We spoke about Henny Reistad, who has now taken over the team. That is a major bit of news. Committing, it's Toria Hergeisen's decision that she's taking over as captain. And I think that'll probably stay the same. A huge sign of faith for the 25-year-old with players who are 2 decades older than her being their captain. But I think that just shows what a different level she is at. And it's Toria Hergeisen's last tournament as coach as well, an end of an era before Ole Gustav Jekstad takes over. Not as many changes as I expected in this team, like post-Olympics. I was thinking a little bit in Paris or in Lille, to be specific, after that final. It's like, that's it for them now. But still a fairly decent team, you have to say.
Absolutely a decent team. It's an understatement of the century. Not as many changes. The likes of Camilla Herem, for example, Sanna Solberg. They're probably players you could have expected to be phased out, but they've been going through a transition process over the last couple of years. They've had the likes of Delia come in and take a much bigger role. Emilia Hovden on the wing. Again, I remember which Euros was it that we did the live interviews with each team?
Oh, in 2022.
In 2022,
the final weekend,
we interviewed every single player on the Norwegian team. The Norwegian media guy was just pushing. He was like, if you want to talk to Stina, you have to talk to every single player on this team. And we actually spoke to both Delia and Emily Hovden, and we had no idea who they were. Literally, they sat out in front of us, and we scraped a 5-minute interview. Now, a couple of years later, Emilia Hovden plays for Gjør. Delia, Team Esbjerg, they're like cemented players at the top level, and they've managed to integrate these younger players to kind of the highest level. So, if anything, I'm really not worried about Norway in that transition space. They've done it really well, getting that new generation started quite early. And they have Henny Reisad.
Yeah, I'm gonna fix your pronunciation of the twins. In fact, because it's Liva and Thala, both twins in the Norwegian squad for the first time, continuing the proud tradition of siblings in the Norwegian national team. Thala and Liva Rushfeldt Dyla. And you're going to fix this forever, Alex, because I'm going to give you a reference point, which you will know very well. They're the daughters of former Celtic manager Ronnie Dyla.
Okay.
The Celtic manager between 2014 and 2016. There you go.
There you go.
Remember him?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
Well, he managed two international playing daughters with Liva joining Thala in the squad. But yeah, that's another team that are a little bit short on the right back position. Stina Skogrand, the only, I would say, out and out right back, but she also played a fair bit on the wing when needed for the team. But kind of a solid pair of hands in there. But that's where you do imagine that Thala Dyla will be able to go in at right back. She's very much a complete, versatile, kind of utility backcourt player who will go wherever needed. But yeah, not a rock solid team, but a very good one anyway. And I think they're definitely up there.
Definitely up there.
France,
Chris, stop understating.
We're definitely up there. Okay,
just not a bad team who might do well.
Just yeah. So they're two of the main medal contenders, and we'll move on to another one now, to the reigning world champions and silver medalists from the Olympics in France. And to help us do that, we'll speak to Courtney Gahan, and after that, we will hear from Fulya Öktem on Group A with a focus on Türkiye, and Alex Mair on Group F. Joining us to talk about Group C, which has France, Spain, Poland, and Portugal in Basel, is Courtney Gahan. Courtney, how you doing?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Good to have you back on to talk about this group. We'll go into a little bit on each of the four teams. But before we do that, what really stands out to you as you've been prepping for your writing on this group?
Well, the teams are completely different in terms of their situation. You know, like France have not changed at all apart from the coach. So obviously highly experienced team there, and I think they're definitely a favourites among the favourites yet again. Spain are having a complete generational change basically, so I'm really interested to see how that looks, but I also don't expect that's going to be any kind of problem for them. Poland, I guess here we're seeing a pretty similar squad that we've seen the last few years, so we can expect them to keep getting better. They were strong at the last Euro. They were very unlucky not to go through to the main round. So, I think we can just expect to see them continue on like an upward trajectory. And Portugal, obviously returning after a very long time, but I don't see any reason to doubt that they will be competitive I think we can expect them to play on the level from the first game.
Okay, let's dive into France then. As you said, on the player front, it's not maybe the huge overhaul that I think we come to expect in the first Euro after an Olympic Games, particularly after a home Olympics for France. I think I definitely thought that there would be more of a change. Of course, Sebastian Gardillo has come in as the head coach. He was acting as an assistant before, so again, a bit of a natural transition. And even some of the lesser experienced players that have come into the team, it's not like it's a bunch of 18 or 19-year-olds, but players who are playing good form handball at a club level. So kind of very much a sensible approach rather than looking to completely rework the squad. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I actually can't think of, are there any really new players coming in? I really don't think that the squad has changed really at all. And the younger players that they've been developing are already now a few championships in.
Yeah.
I think this isn't even like Lena Granvo's first Euro. So um yeah, I don't expect the coach change to have a significant impact. I mean, all respect to Crumpholz, of course, but Guardiola was working obviously as an assistant for him with the team for a long time, and also players of this level and this level of experience, that's not going to have a huge impact on them, I think. So I don't know if is it a sensible approach or just they're kind of lucky to be in this position with the age of their players and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That no one was really at the time to retire after this home Olympics. So yeah, they're pretty much one of the only teams that are just continuing on the same track that they've been in the last years, I think.
Yeah, and despite that loss in the Olympic final, it was a good tournament for them overall. Getting silver medal is by all accounts a good result for them. And I think for the reasons you just mentioned, probably one of the big favorites for this title heading into the championship. We've talked about France over in previous years having slow starts to tournaments with this new format now for the women's competition with 24 teams. You can't really afford to have much of a slow start, seeing as the top two make it through. But it also seems like they've kind of put that behind them a little bit, and you'd expect them to be clued in from the start.
Well, I mean, if we look back to the Women's World Championship, their slow start didn't include a loss still.
Yeah.
You know, they maybe struggled in the first game a little bit, but they didn't lose. So that's also a question. What does the slow start look like if they have that? Um, I would not expect that. It could be very like when they faced Angola in that round one game at that World Championship last year, that perhaps they have a strong challenge from Poland, but I couldn't see France losing that game, even if they have some problems that they learn about that they need to iron out. Um, and either way, I think they really know how to play a championship now. As you said, like, okay, it comes down to if they suffer a loss that could end up ending their campaign. But barring that, even a loss or something like that, they know how to recover from it. They know it's not the end of the world, and they know how to play a championship for sure. And if anything, it's the best case scenario to have some problems in your first game and then know what you need to work on and just have the space to keep getting better.
Yeah. On paper, over the last few years, Spain would be considered probably the next in line and a main contender in this group. But as you said, it's been a lot of changes in this team compared to what was a bit of a disaster of an Olympics for them. What can you tell us about the Spain squad heading into this championship?
For me, they're really a big question mark. I think you can never underestimate them. And they do have, unlike some teams like Slovenia have had just like a complete gutting of their squad.
Mm.
Spain have the players who will now be taking the responsibility have been in the team for some time. So it's not like a completely inexperienced team taking the court. And also they do have that ability to tap into this fighting spirit that they are known for. So we can really never underestimate them, but also how will those players who were not as leading over the last years come into their role as leaders now? Maybe that's the question, is how well those players are really going to step up now that they have the chance to take the leadership role.
Yeah, it's always, I try not to look into the pre-tournament games, particularly the friendly matches that were last month. But quite a heavy loss to Sweden in particular that stood out. It was 40-24. I think the result in that one, which I think would send warning signs among the Spanish in terms of what they should expect from this tournament. But probably good that happens a bit earlier rather than this week before the championship. Do you have any people in mind that will be able to step up to the next level for this team? I mean, the players themselves seem to have spread around quite well. If you think about the likes of Arcos playing the last season or two in Vipers, and Chapchet, who was also in Vipers, now in Odense, they've got a nice variety in terms of where the players are playing their club handball. But are there any ones that would really jump out to you that we can expect to see in good form?
Well, you mentioned Paula Arcos. I think for sure she must take more of a leadership role now. And some other backs, it's young, but Danila Delgado, the top scorer of the European League last season. And no, the European Cup. And Carmen Campos also, who I was not super familiar with her when I was looking into her, but then she has been one of their top scorers at the last two championships, second top at the last Euro, joint second top scorer in Paris. So I think those three are maybe the ones who are most important to rise to the occasion here. They have solid defense, although they'll miss Lara Gonzalez, of course, but they have still a solid defensive core left there. Let's see how the goal looks to a completely new goalkeeper duo. And somehow Jennifer Gutierrez is very important to me also as a person. I see that it's very important that they have a nice cohesion within the team, and I think that she'll also have some kind of leadership role there. So there's definitely a few players who I think are really ready to step into this role. About the game against Sweden, I mean, obviously Sweden are extremely strong and we could name them as one of the favorites, so that might be a difficult team to compare to. But yeah, well, let's see what happens in when they're in championship mode.
Yeah, exactly. That's I mean, the Olympics aside, I think we can always expect the Spaniards to throw up a couple of results, and in a group like this, it is very much open for them to get what they need to get through. But it feels like the game for them against Poland is going to be crucial. The Poles themselves, a team that have it felt like have kind of been knocking on the door a little bit. They broke into the main round at the World Championship last year. A team that doesn't scream out with too many big players, but who would we be looking out for on this Polish side, and what do you expect from them this month?
Well, I think maybe a key development for Poland is in goal. Barbara Zima really had a breakout performance at the World Championship in 2023. And so now they have a strong duo, which is, as we know, is like really important to have two to rely on. Aside from that, the rest of the team have just been like slowly gathering experience, and obviously Monica Kobylinska is going to be a very important one as always, and Magda Balsam has been playing a really important role for them for the last years, and coming through one of the younger players still, Alexandra Rosiak, who keeps getting better and better. So I just see them as on a steady trajectory up, and yeah, they definitely could throw a big spanner in the works for Spain. And let's not forget Portugal, of course.
Yeah, and on the Portuguese then, it's their first Euro in 16 years, second in total. They're one of the teams that have absolutely been able to take advantage or benefited from the expansion of the tournament to 24 teams. They got through as one of the best third place teams, despite not getting a point out of the top two in their qualification group. They've had some players that, particularly, it seems a lot of them shifting over to France over the last couple of years for spells playing abroad. I saw them play in a qualifier against the Netherlands, and there was definitely some bright spots in their performances, but it did feel like they were, at a level below what you'd expect from a classic European Championship team. But as we've seen in the men's side over the last few years, that seems to inspire these teams to take a step up once they have got that qualification in the bag. What do you think about this team?
Well, I would also point to their results against Czechia in the qualification. They lost quite narrowly, and I think Czechia are really a team to watch who are coming. So you're right, of course, like they're not experienced at this level, so we have to see how much that's a factor. But we also have some players in this team who have achieved the biggest success for Portugal in the youth age category. And that was quite similar actually to what happened with the men's team. They had a lot of those guys from the same generation who had really stood out on the junior and youth level, which is a completely different stage, of course, but well, yeah, let's see how they manage to transfer that up into the open age. But as for the club level is also something interesting. I wonder how important it is whether they've been in like top teams or whether they've just been gathering a lot of playing experience and time on court in the different leagues and different teams. Yeah, they're of course a bit of a question mark. We have to see how they handle the tournament setting, but I think also the work of the Portuguese Federation is really been so excellent that I am sure they will have prepared for a team that's coming in. In a way, this team is coming into their first championship, even though the nation is returning to the Euro. I think they couldn't be better prepared, from everything the Federation could do to prepare them.
Yeah, and I mean the way they speak about the games as well. I saw the article in Eurohandball with Beatriz Souza where she does see those games against Spain and Poland as being somewhat at their level or what they could potentially reach up to, and that is a major thing. If they feel like at their very best they can get a result against one or both of these teams. It does draw some parallels in my mind to what the men's team did back in 2020. Again, they were maybe not the as much of an outsider as this women's team are on paper compared to the three teams in their group. But if there's a couple of teams there they can get a result against, particularly in the opening round, you think about that derby game with Spain, all of the pressure is on the Spanish team to basically not throw this away. And I think we've seen enough games, enough tournaments like that where the underdogs really can benefit from not so much their own push that an opening game like this will bring, but how much it can be a crippling effect on the opposition.
Yeah, that's very true. And that psychological side that you mentioned, I think like that's what I refer to with the preparation. With if they're coming in with the right mindset, then that can be extremely powerful. I'm not sure we can expect that they will pull off a result like the men's team did in 2020 and reach the final weekend. But when I say that I think we can expect good things of them, I mean that I expect them to be on the level of the championship. I definitely wouldn't expect them to be suffering decisive losses, but of course we have to see. But I think you're right that these games against Spain in particular could end up being a very interesting one. I have some feeling that Spain sometimes don't handle that pressure that well, but sometimes they do also. Well,
We'll find out next week, that's for sure. Before we let you go, then the classic question for everyone who joins us on this preview: your tips for the three medals and who the MVP will be.
Well, I think we're going to see the same four teams that we've had at the top for the last couple of championships. Probably France are the favorites for the trophy, but my heart says Denmark, so I'm going to say Denmark. I think it's about time, or not about time just in terms of them being owed something, but I mean that they've been really right there for all these last years. They're super strong. And I think in terms of depth, I'm not sure any team really compares with Denmark there. So I would say then Denmark first, France runners up, and Sweden will take their long awaited next medal.
Yes, very
And
good.
I do think Norway will reach the semi-finals, but I'm not sure they're going all the way to the trophy this time. But that said, well, the MVP is very difficult because probably Henny Rystad is going to have another stellar tournament, especially now that she has more responsibility in the Norway side. But I could also see Enze Minko or even a Laura Glauser or a Yamina Roberts. Can I say four?
No. But I hear you, Henny Rystad getting MVP after dragging Norway kicking and screaming to fourth place. That sounds like something that could happen.
Yeah, that's you paraphrasing what I just said. Sorry about that.
All right, Courtney, thanks a lot. And I will see you during the Euro.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Joining us to speak about Türkiye and a little bit about Group A. It's one of the debut teams at this championship and a debutant on the podcast as well. Fulya Öktem, how are you?
Thank you, Chris. How are you?
Very well. Good to have you on with us just before this major championship begins to talk about your home nation and one of the two debutants in this expanded EHF Euro for women. What can you tell us about this Turkish team as we look forward to seeing them take on the rest of the continent?
First of all, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure and honor. As you mentioned, Türkiye joining the European teams in this tournament for the first time in its history, thanks to expanding the competition to 24 teams. Otherwise, we can't be there. But we were trying to be at the European Championship for years. If it was not 16 teams in the past, if it had always been 24 teams, it would be our 9th time at the European Championship. But Turkey is there for being the best third team. And I hope the team uses a chance there to express themselves better in the European arena, to show themselves.
Yeah, I think they have, as I said, they've been really close a lot over the past years. And, in this third ranked teams, they were only one of two teams to actually get a point against one of the bigger nations and looked quite good, I have to say, in their qualification group as well. We've been used to seeing Turkish teams playing at a good level in European club competitions in the Champions League and also the the lower tiers, and also some Turkish players playing for good teams internationally as well. So I think it may be a surprise for some people to see Türkiye competing at this level for the first time, but actually there's a lot of experience within this team.
Yes, a lot of experience, but something missing throughout the years, because Türkiye has been relying on the same core players for years. And with these players, same players trying to achieve different results. Not good. This approach hasn't worked so far. And it's going to be tough for us in this tournament because we need new players, young players. We need some transition, a generational shift. And I don't know if Türkiye can do it in the future, but throughout the years, it has been 6 or 7 coaches changed, but the squad is almost the same. This might be a disadvantage. Something may be an advantage. In the opening match, Türkiye, as you said, is competing in such a high level for the first time. This inexperience might bring some shock to players, but at the same time, it could also give the players extra motivation to push themselves. If Türkiye can handle the atmosphere in the opening game, it can make a surprise. But I don't expect a surprise in the opening game because Hungary is the host. They want to have the 2 points in the opening game.
When you think about what a successful tournament for this team will be, if we consider Hungary and Sweden as the big favourites in the group, do you feel the focus is very much on taking on North Macedonia and getting points there?
Yeah, that's right. Realistically, I don't see us taking points from Hungary or Sweden. Sweden is a clear favourite in the group. And Hungary, being the host, might try to pull off a surprise against Sweden. But whether they can manage that, we will all see together. Yes, the focus is on North Macedonia. And Turkey will be competing with North Macedonia for the 3rd place. But Macedonia have a group of good young players. And our chance is slim against Macedonia, to be honest.
Who do you think will be the key players for Türkiye then if they're going to get a result against the Macedonians? And in general, who do you think will be able to really take a step up at this level and show themselves as an international class player?
Turkey's elite players, Beyzayram Türkoğlu and Aslı İskit. These 2 players will stand out. Didem Oşkör and Elif Slaydın. Very experienced player, Nurcan Akın Göktepe. She will step out when it's needed, I think. Dönegül Bozdağ. She's a center back, but the coach can use her in right back. Depending on the position, she can make a surprise.
Yeah, so there's quite a few players in there that you have some faith in to make an impact, which I think sounds quite good for this team. It is a nation where we've seen, particularly in volleyball, the women having a lot of success recently. So the appetite for court sports in Türkiye for women is obviously there. A lot of good support as well. Whenever I've seen European Cup games in some of the smaller cities, the atmosphere and the crowds have always been really good. So it feels like there's a lot of potential in the country for handball to make an impact. On the women's side, what do you think the potential impact is for Turkish handball now that they will have a women's team competing at the Euro, and also keeping in mind that they're going to be one of the host nations for the next Euro in 2 years' time?
Yes, it is great to play against well-established teams like Sweden and Hungary. They are decorated teams. For the fact that this is the first European competition in national level, it will attract attention And women in sports in Turkey is a little bit better than men. This European Championship, the most important impact would be in investment to women's sports, to players, to venues, to coaches, and to youth teams. And it will attract attention to be one of the hosts of the 2026 European Championship. Will be a huge thing for Turkey. In our squad, half of the players are teachers. Wow. They are playing handball in professional level, but handball cannot be their full focus. This is, how can I say, it's an advantage for the if you think about the opponents. For example, Sevilay İmamoğlu is not on the squad, but she could be. She's playing for Bursa now. She's one of the most decorated players of Turkish women's national team. Sevilay is a teacher. She's teaching 4 days in Antalya. She's playing handball 1 day in Bursa. That's a big challenge, yes. And half of our players are doing another job, another profession. Maybe an investment in handball, as I mentioned about the impact, could help these players only focus in handball, and it can improve something in Turkish handball. That's a big challenge because you play in City A, but you're teaching in City B. That's one of the big challenges.
Before we let you go, then one last question on a bigger picture. Then your predictions for the medals at this championship.
I don't want to predict anything, but Thorir Hergeirsson is quitting the national team. I think Norway would say farewell with the gold to one of the most best coaches in the world. Norway, Denmark, France. There's always a surprise in these these tournaments. I don't know who would surprise, but definitely Turkey would not make a surprise. Having 1 or 2 points from this tournament would be the success for Türkiye. Yes, yeah. I'm very excited. So
am I. Looking forward to seeing them in action. And thank you so much, Fulya, for your
Thank you, Chris.
And for your insight.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Joining us to talk about Group F over in Innsbruck the evening before she hits the road for her debut at an EHF Euro Senior Championship. Alex Mair, how you doing?
Yeah, never better, Chris. How about you?
Very good. Good to have you to talk to us about Netherlands, Germany, Iceland, Ukraine, that group. And as I said, it's going to be your debut at a major championship commentating. How are you feeling?
I'm a little bit nervous. I'm just trying to roll with it. You know, I've done quite a bit of prep. I think what's exciting is I've seen a couple of these teams before, and it's kind of nice that I get to do a full deep dive into just 4 teams, and I'll just be commentating those 4 teams playing each other the whole time. So I feel like all the prep is worth it, and it'll be good to have a view on every one of the games. So excited, a little bit nervous, but just trying to roll with it.
You'll smash it, I'm sure. And a good chance for you to rehearse a little bit with us now on what you've learned about these teams. Before we go into details about the 4 teams in this group, what's your general impression about Group F heading into this tournament?
I think it's an interesting one because there's kind of 2 clear top picks and two clear underdogs. I think where it'll be exciting to watch will be when those two top picks, and by that I mean Netherlands and Germany, it's exciting when they're going to play each other, and then it's going to be exciting when Iceland and Ukraine play each other. So those are the matches I'm really looking forward to. I think the other matches, when they play each other, that'll be, there's a clear underdog, but I think, probably it's a tough pick for who would come in each place. But I think it's an interesting group. I don't know if you'd agree with that.
Yeah, I think we're kind of a little bit, maybe with this two teams going through from each group, maybe prone to focus so much on the top two, purely on the teams that are going to make it to the next round. And as you said, for that, Germany and Netherlands are kind of the outstanding teams. But tell us a little bit about the two underdogs in this case, both with some major tournament experience, Ukraine with a little bit more, but Iceland coming into this as well. What do you think we can expect from them?
I think Iceland are actually one of the more exciting teams for me. I think maybe what they lack in experience, they make up for in energy. They've got some, I don't know, I really enjoy watching their style of play. I think they can kind of come out of nowhere and just get a couple of goals. I think a couple of people that come to mind is Taya Sturladottir, and I'm still working on the pronunciation. It's going to be perfect for the first game, but she is super cool. She plays in left back, super tall, and just has this unbelievable back shot, can do it out of nowhere. I think she scored 22 goals in the qualifiers, so she's just unbelievable. And then another one is Ellen Clara Folkesdottir. I think she's the youngest on the team. She's only 20. She, again, can just kind of come out of nowhere. She's not afraid to take those, I don't know, kind of crazy shots, do that stem shot from the middle. So those are two people that I love seeing on court. And I think as a team overall, they're actually quite, it's well spread across the court. They've got good people in each position. So I'm looking forward to seeing them play.
A lot of experience as well in the team in terms of age as well and caps. And it feels like for this team, it's been, a long time coming for them to get back to a Euro. 2012 was the last time Iceland were represented on the women's side, so 12 years. And so it's basically been, a full career's worth for the players in their early and mid-30s in there. So do you think that will play a part as well, the fact that it's going to be maybe the culmination of an international career for so many of these players?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, a couple of the ones that come to mind, I mean, Stefan Sottir, she's one of the oldest on the team. She's had a lot of caps. She's had over 400 goals for Iceland. She's on the right wing. I think, again, it's that experience mixed with that energy of young players. And I think that they're going to put in a good showing.
For Ukraine as well, it's been a decade since their last Euro, and of course, so many mitigating factors in their development over the last couple of years. But they've qualified for the tournament again, which is great to see, and at least coming up against the Germans in a team that they faced in the qualifiers as well in the build-up to this.
I mean, another exciting team, had quite a few changes, had a few injuries and the likes. But I think because they peaked in, 2004, they actually got a bronze medal at the Olympics in 2004, which was a little bit before I started watching handball. I looked up some of the highlights the other day. There aren't any people left from 2004, but and also for them, similar to Iceland, this is their first time in the Euros since 2014. So I think both Ukraine and Iceland are trying to have a good showing. They do have the youngest squad in the competition. I think it's something like the only team where their average player is under 25 or something like that. No, they're an exciting team. Again, a couple of injuries. Levchenko, who's on the right wing, she's injured. She's a pretty key player for them. But overall, I think they're going to have a good showing. It'll just be interesting to see if that experience or lack of experience might come to bite them.
So for the two big dogs then, Netherlands and Germany, both seemingly in very similar stages of their team's development at the moment, both knocked out in the quarterfinals of the Olympics. earlier this year. They'll be co-hosting a World Championship together next year, and both chock full of solid international level players and Champions League level players in there. Which of the two is exciting you more?
I'm gonna say Netherlands, just because I'm very interested in what their new coach is doing, Henrik Signal. He's Swedish, I think. I don't know if you saw the news, but a week ago they announced who was in the squad, and Polman wasn't selected. Van der Heyden initially wasn't selected either, and Kelly Dulfer, she has said that she stepped back from that tournament. So I was looking on social media, and the fans were not happy with Signal. But, a new coach, he's clearly changing it up, favouring the younger players for experienced players, which I think, it's always exciting to see young people on court.
Yeah, and I think, it's kind of with the, the classic new Olympic cycle as well, right? If Henrik Signal is coming into this with a 4-year plan in mind, and, he's someone who in himself has a lot of international experience. He's coached Sweden in the past. He's just come from an Olympics with Korea, where in the end it was a little bit disappointing for them, but they did pull off a big result as well. So I think he definitely has the credentials to be able to go in there and make a big call or two from the start, and to show that it's his squad.
And they actually have just bought back in Van der Heyden in replacement for Van Marek, who I think was injured. So there is still quite a lot of experience in that team. We've got Malestein on the wing, and kind of across the board, there's still in Lewis Arbing, of course. So still heaps of experience in that team. It's not like they've just gutted the team and put a bunch of fresh legs in. I'm excited for them. I think they just are wanting to crack that top 4. They've consistently, I think, 6th in the last Euro, 5th at the Olympics and at the last World Champs, just haven't been able to crack the semi-finals. So I imagine that'll be the goal for them this tournament.
Already that second game in the group between the Dutch and Germans feels like an early eliminator in terms of that main round as well, if we're really projecting ahead. Mm-hmm. Considering the likes of Denmark and Norway are going to be waiting for them in the main round, they need to take points in with them. Germany have been generally quite good, it feels, in the early stages of these competitions. Do you think that they will have a real chance to do over the Dutch there? You said it was a toss-up earlier, but maybe more excited about the Dutch, but does that also mean that you're fancying them over the Germans?
I mean, it's 50-50. I love an underdog. I'm probably going to pick the Dutch to beat the Germans, but I think that'll be the game to watch. It could go either way, honestly. I would pick the Dutch. I'm a little bit more excited about what they're doing on court, but I think the Germans are looking really strong as well. They've also just brought in Anja Althaus as the new team manager. So having someone with that much experience and kind of there to hype up the team, maybe that could be the secret sauce. But as a team, I mean, again, they're strong across the board, similar to the Dutch in that they've got some really key experienced players in different positions. Antje Dol on the left wing, Emily Bolk, co-captain, on the left back. I'm also excited about Viola Lukter on the right back. Really exciting young player. So excited to see a little bit more of her.
Yeah, good to see her back after the injury at the World Championship last year. A great point about Althaus, someone who knows how to win at a major championship level and Champions League level, which I think is something that can be pinned against the German team. As of late, they've been knocking on the door, trying to get into those medal matches, but have fallen in one way or another at the final stages. So looking a little bit more big picture then before we let you go, as we're doing with all our experts, your 3 picks for the medals and MVP.
I'm going to go, it's not that interesting, but I want to hear what the others said, actually. I'm going to go Norway. I'm then going to go Denmark, and then I'm going to go France for my top 3. I'd like to see Sweden in there as well, maybe in 4th place. But those would be my medal picks. I think France is the biggest question mark. I feel like they have to be in those top 3 positions, but you never know what France are going to do on the day. And then MVP for the whole tournament. What did you say, Chris?
Oh, you'll find out in the podcast.
Okay. I don't know.
Bonus points if you don't say Henny Reista.
Well, I know that's. I'm trying to think of anyone other than Henny Reistad. I want to go something a bit different. I'd love to see a defensive player get MVP. I feel like defensive players never get the kudos that they deserve. Well, let's go for one of my teams. I think that Netherlands has the best chance of getting into the top 4, and Malestein could be a good pick for the Dutch. So maybe I'll go with Malestein. She's got energy for it.
Nice one, Alex. Thanks a lot for your time. Sleep well. Get over that jet lag.
I need it.
We look forward to hearing you from Innsbruck on Friday, right? Your first game?
Yes, Friday. Looking forward to it. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you to Alex, Fulya, and Courtney for their insights there. Great batch of experts over our 2 preview podcasts. And now I think we've covered most of the big dogs. You heard about France there from Courtney, Alex. Another team that, despite a change in coach with Sebastian Gardieu coming in, who was the assistant for Krumholtz, a team that hasn't shifted too much in terms of their squad. And I think we'll have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder as well, having been beaten so thoroughly in the Olympic final just a few months ago.
I think so, but France have really struggled in the warm-up games, and I'm going to read into it. I think that was a big blow for them, the home Olympics not getting the goal and losing in such dramatic fashion. I think it's had a longer impact, and France are also a team that hasn't really had a transition. It's still the same squad, and maybe they're a team that could have used a little bit of a shake-up. In the same way, I've knocked Jesper Jensen for shaking up Denmark, but I think France are in a similar situation where it could be useful to do that after the Olympics and change the team around a little bit. Like, you look at a player like one of my favorites, but Gras Zadi. Is there no one more deserving there? I think Zadi has been a little bit of a journey woman over the last couple of years in her club career. She hasn't reached the same levels at the international stage, and maybe there's just someone more exciting, more dynamic you could put in there. And I think that's relevant for a large part of the squad where maybe a shake-up was needed. But again, they have talent. They have, the squad has remained the same. They do have those exciting talents in Sacco, Granvaux, players to kind of step in and be new stars for France. So great team, but it comes down to those big matchups. And of the big matchups in the warm-up games, France have lost to Hungary and Spain. And that does not single too well. Actually does worry me.
I'm going to choose not to read into their warm-up games too much. I think, we'll come back to that in a few days' time if they've completely fallen off a cliff. But I think it's time for us to put our money where our mouths are, Alex, and make some predictions, as we've been asking our expert guests to do. I want your medalists, and then I want your MVP and someone else as well. if your MVP is Henny Reista.
Okay.
Or alternative MVP. Doesn't have to necessarily be the second best player, but someone else who will be, an MVP, someone we'll look back on at the end of the tournament for our alternative awards and be like, yeah, good on them.
For my goal, it's Norway. I'm pretty confident in that. I have Hungary getting a medal, and I'm deciding about France or Denmark to get the other medal, and I think it's going to be Denmark. I'm just counting out France here.
So you're saying Hungary to get a silver?
Denmark get the silver. It's going to be standard enough. Hungary get the bronze.
Yeah. Okay.
And my standout player, I'm going to have Diona Hauser. Even though I don't have Netherlands, I don't think Netherlands are quite good enough to make it to the semi-final, but I think she will stand out in the competition.
Interesting. I should put her in there. Because there's a little part of me that is thinking maybe Norway won't get to the semi-final.
Oh.
And that maybe there's a door open for Netherlands or Germany, and I'm also leaning towards I'm leaning towards the Dutch there in that case. But then I think that Henny Rice is just gonna turn any game that she needs to, dragging her team through. Yeah, it would be really stupid to count out Norway. I know I've been trying to like sneak them out of my reckoning over the course of the last two podcasts, but
what is the driver of taking Norway out? Is it like Stina Offedal missing? Fair. Is it just the loss of Stina Offedal?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with anything besides that. Yeah, but it's going to be Denmark to win gold.
Oh, wow.
Denmark to win gold against Hungary and Norway to win bronze with a not breakout tournament, but a tournament where she finally delivers in all the super important games for her team. Katrin Kleiber might not be MVP, but she'll be the top scorer. There you go.
Like it. I like it.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you to Fulya, Courtney, Daniela, Enos, and Alex for their input as well and their great expert insights for our preview podcast. Hope you all enjoyed them at home and hope you enjoy the opening days of the championship. We'll be back in a few days with a bonus podcast, and then as the tournament goes on, some regular updates as well. But to catch all of the coverage, make sure to join us on patreon.com/handball hour. But until then, everyone, take care and goodbye.